What's going on, guys? Mitch here. Thank you for joining me on this next episode of this build. I know it's been absolutely ages since we put a video out. This past term for me for school has been absolutely insane. So we're finally getting around to doing a little bit of work on this car, and I've got something pretty special for you today, which I hope you're actually going to really love. First thing I want to show you on this car is last episode we did our ignition switch install. I've now located that inside the car down here. So what I did is that little box there is just a plastic box from J-Car. It's about $8, and I just bolted that. I put one bolt through the floor and then one bolt where the handbrake joins up to the chassis. That bolt now goes through the plastic box into the handbrake and into the chassis. It's nice and firm there. It's great, fires up lovely. I'll do that later on. And we've just got some of the cables here running along there that I'll tidy up later on. Today we have, like I said, something special that I've been waiting on for a long time. Some may think it's absolutely unnecessary. For me, I like to be safe. And so our battery isolator is not your typical toggle switch battery isolator. We are going to be using a Cartek solid state battery isolator in this car. Now, some may sit there and think, why are we spending so much money on one of these things? And if you know what these things are, you'll know that these babies are not cheap. They are quite expensive. Much more expensive than the normal toggle switch and the pull tab that you'd normally use. Reason being is when I sit in my seat in this car, with the seat where it'll probably be sitting, my arms all the way outstretched, find it very difficult to actually hit that center console in the middle down there. If the sun stops shining, just there. So what we're going to do is run our Cartek battery isolator. From one switch will then mount up just here on our ignition box, and the other one will come out here and will sit just at the bottom of the A-pillar, or depending on height and where our windscreen wiper washers finish, it may fit just in here somewhere. I'll have to have a look at that. But that's the plan today. I also have a lovely fire extinguisher that I have to mount up as well. This one is probably one of the cheapest things on the car, or one of the cheaper things on the car. Total tools $19, and that'll meets all the regulations for Motorsports Australia, and that'll fit nicely in the car. So we're going to bolt that in and get that squared away. So without further ado, let's get into this little build. Okay, so you may wonder why I decided to go for such an expensive little bit of kit like this. Now this one I got direct from the Australian importer, which is GR Motorsport Electronics in Melbourne. Now these are actually made in England. They're an English made piece of equipment, but really, really good. They're used by a lot of the top line motorsport or motorsport teams around the world. And you may think that's a bit excessive for XLs. That's perfectly fine. Everyone's entitled to their opinion. I chose to go for this just for my preference of safety. But the beautiful thing about this is that it is really, really simple to set up. So all you do is you have a battery negative cable that comes here from obviously the battery cable, a positive cable from the battery to this part, and then a cable from this terminal to your ECU or ignition. In this case, we'll be using our ignition. Now for the cable for that, I've just got some 50 amp cable here from J-Car. That'll be going from the battery to the positive terminal, and then also from the terminal to the ignition. It runs two buttons. This is your external button. It is a momentary push, so once you push it, it activates this system. It'll shut down the car and isolate the battery from everything else. Second part is your internal battery. This is latching. It has a little inbuilt LED light there, so once you push it, That'll tell you that everything's activated. It'll also come on if this has been pushed or if there's any other circuitry issues within this unit here. To then start your car, push it, go through the normal startup procedure. Now, how this works is this effectively, these two panels here are effectively the ground for this unit. Now, it is a solid state battery isolator. There is no moving parts in there, fully electronic, no cables to pull, things like that. It is dustproof, waterproof, shockproof, so hitting curbs hard all the time is not going to affect it. You literally just have to bolt it up, connect everything up, and away you go. One thing to note is if you are going to be welding on your car, you need to take this off your car. So, in the future, if I do want to do any welding, instead of cutting cables and then rejoining them, it comes with these 4 cables here. I'll be running those to a Deutsch connector. Now, the 2 blue cables on the end are obviously for your external kill switch. The black and the red cables are for your internal switch. I've got some black and red cable here, and then I've also got some blue hookup cable over there. It does come with your safety stickers on there as well, which is lovely. And also you can get a bit of a diagram here. I don't know if you can see that, how it all works. So essentially you've got your negative cable, your positive cable, and then your cable out to your engine electrical system or your ignition switch and your 2 buttons. So anytime you push that, it cuts off these cables here and just isolates the battery from everything. If you are going to use this and you are going to mount it to your chassis, you need to ground all your other electrical systems out to your chassis. It's very important. You can't run anything back to the battery. Everything has to be grounded out to your chassis of your car, and then you can connect it all up. The last thing with this is you cannot start your car and try and operate it without everything connected, because you will fry this system. It's very important to notice that. Now, we're going to try and run a bit of a wiring loom, or create a bit of a wiring loom for this, in case we want to move it from car to car, or if I build a new car, not saying I am, but we can take this out and just put it straight into a new car and use the same wiring loom. Now, I had a bit of a play around. I've just got some different types of heat shrink there, but essentially what I did is I got some black cable and just made a wire rope, and you'll see that this is nice and thin there. We've got 2 strands of wire rope running through there, and then I created a thicker section where I got these 2 wire rope pieces there and twisted them up again. Now, fortunately, when I was planning on doing this, I watched a bit of a how-to video online, and I'll go into that a little bit later, about how to do this stuff, about doing some wire roping. Very informative. When we get to it, I'll tell you all about it, but this is what we're going to be aiming for. Obviously, this will be going to, your 4 cables will be going to this section here. This will go, one of these will eventually go to your internal kill switch, and one of these will go to your external. Now, I'm not going to be using this piece. This was just a test piece, but that's the kind of thing we're aiming for. So, we now have to find a place to put this in the car. Now, the beautiful thing about this is that you just have to mount them close to your battery. So essentially, anywhere within this vicinity down here, I can mount this, hook it all up. Now, this cable, I don't know if you can see it, this cable here is ground out to the chassis. That end there will then connect up to your negative part right here. And then we'll just run a cable from here to your battery positive, and then a cable from there up to the ignition. So that's the plan. We need to find a place to put it. I'm thinking hopefully somewhere up here, nice and close. I even thought if it reached, that will work. So possibly somewhere there like that. It all depends on where the fuel tank is in this car in relation to where I want to drill some holes, because I do not want to puncture the fuel tank. Alright, so what I've done here is I've got our battery isolator, we've got our cables coming out, and I've just made a quick wire rope, which I'll go through a bit later, straight into a Deutsch connector. I've put the two blue cables, which is the external kill switch on the bottom, and the red and the black on the top, red being on the right, black being on the left. Now I'll bolt this in the car and just run it straight up to our other connector, which is here, which I still have to put together. But I did have a look, and I jumped onto the car really quick, and I am able to mount it right about there. And there's two raised parts up on this car, part of the floor pan, and I'll just drill some holes through there, put the bolts in, and away we go. So it'll sit right there, nice and tidy, tucked away near the battery, and then we can hook it all up. So first of all, I got to mark these holes, drill them, and then get this thing mounted up. Now what I will probably have to do also is, because I did spray paint this car, to get a good ground, I might just have to sand back a little bit onto the actual paint underneath and make it nice and neat that way. But that's no trouble at all. So it'll sit nicely in there, like so. Lovely. All right, we've got our battery isolator now mounted. Got the battery negative cable running to the isolator. I'm just going to tighten down those bolts a fraction more, clean up those shavings. Now to run our positive cable, and then our cable to the pardon me, our cable to the ignition switch. So first thing I'm going to do is just run a cable from there to there, and then we'll run our ignition switch. So I'll make up a short little cable to go there and we'll get started. Alright, so here's our wire going from our battery to our isolator. Now, one end is an 8mm tab or I-terminal, the other one is a 6mm. So 6mm goes to the isolator, 8mm goes to the battery. Okay, so the next part is where the fun starts. So we've got to now run a cable from the ignition terminal up to our ignition box, where our ignition switch is up there, and plug that in so we can take then the constant power out of our normal ignition wiring and plug this one in. So I'll get a length of this cable and we'll run that now. Alright guys, so what we're going to do now is we're going to start making the wiring harness or the wiring loom for the buttons or the switches for the battery isolator. Now I've already done this, the positive and negative for the internal button. That was quite easy, so I'm going to show you now what to do with the blue one. So I'll just get set up and I'll show you exactly how to do it. Alright, so here's what we've got. We've got our blue cable here for the external switch. Now I've just taped the end of it here with some electrical tape just to keep it together, and I've got this clamp here from Bunnings. It's about, I think, $1, $2 or something like that, just with the rubber tips, just so it doesn't do any damage to the actual wires. And then I've got through the frame, there's a little hole, and this sits in there nicely like that, and then you just stretch. Now I've got 6 meters of this stuff. Now I won't be needing 6 meters of it, but hopefully we might have to go out to the might be heading out the garage door here. I think we will be. What you can do is you stretch it all the way out like so. Now it's a bit off, so once you get it even, I'm just going to go and trim that so they're nice and even now. So we get it, stick it in our drill. Just do it up by hand. Like that. Now obviously if you've got too much cable you can always trim bits off, but you hold it nice and tight. So you're getting a nice tight twist, so we just keep going. Beautiful. It's a nice tight twist. Now what you do is you just back it off and reverse it a little bit. Okay, undo it, and hold the end, and what you're going to do is just let it go slowly. It'll slowly unwind, but it'll actually hold its shape somewhat. There we go. So now you've got your wire rope. So what we're going to do now, so we've got the ends free either end, so we can put one end into our Deutsch connector, and the other end can go into some spade terminals just to join the two switches together. So now we've got that, we're going to get this part. What I'm going to do is unpull this part. Now, if you follow High Performance Academy on Facebook, they did like a online tutorial almost about this. I'm just putting that there like that for a moment. And what they did is they got this and they showed you how to make wire ropes, concentric twisting, how to make good connections, just your real basics of wiring, which is really great for someone like me who is not a professional auto electrician. I don't claim to be. I think they had 200 people from around Australia, New Zealand, even around the world that joined in for this this little online course, and they actually do a lot of high performance wiring for different race cars, things like that. So I'll just feed this back through there like so. Now the reason why I'm putting these couple through at the same time is that I'll join those together nice and tight. I'll put that there. Now I'll feed these out and hopefully they're at the right length. Look at that. Spot on. Actually one, they just have to come out. The blue one might have to come out a fraction. Now they're pretty much the same kind of twist on them. Perfect. Now, the reason I've got this length is that this is where they'll join up to the Deutsch connector. This length will then twist up here, make a thicker twist or a thicker rope. And then the other end will then go into our internal kill switch, and the rest of this blue one will then feed through to our external kill switch in our in the car. So, and I have found a place for the external kill switch. I really did not want to drill a hole into the fender. I wanted to find a place where I could just mount it somewhere somewhat safe, I guess. So I'll just, I don't know if you can see it because I'm wearing the old headband. So I'll just do that up. Somewhat tight so it's held together. Right, hold this tight. So you got a nice twist there, and obviously back it off. Undo it slowly. And just hold on to it, let it unwind a little bit. And there you go. So what we do now is then we can run some heat shrink straight over the top of this to our two different sides. Now what I will do is just unravel a little bit of the red one because I'll need a little bit of excess to make it through to our switch. So I'll just pull this through. Okay guys, there we have it. Our wiring loom for the ignition switch. So, it's not the ignition switch, the battery isolator. So what I did is I got some little pieces of PVC pipe. So That one's a bit of a thicker piece, because what I do have is just some labels here that I can then write on and tell what goes to what and what's happening. So I'll put those on. The part to the internal kill switch, just got 2 spade terminals, 2 females, and then I'll put another one on there. And then I've left the end of the blue lines a bit longer, because I'm not exactly sure how long I'm going to need to get it through to the front, so I can then adjust that at the end. So what I'm going to do now is just jump in the car, run these lines, and then get everything situated. Alright, so we have our hole drilled right here for our internal kill switch, which I have right here. I've just marked it internal kill, and then that will sit through there like that. And then there's a little nut that I have to put on the back, which I'll do that in a second. And then our triangle sticker to let everyone know that that's the kill switch will sit right in here, which I'll do in a second. So I'll hook this up, get it all back together, and then we can run the lines for the external kill switch, and I'll show you where I'm going to mount that. So I'll just get the Mr. Whippy's about to be here. Alright, so I found the silver nut that I lost. I just was a bit dopey and misplaced it. So now we can join these ones up. So we go black to black, red to red, like so, and then we have our constant power, which now comes from our battery isolator. It goes in like so, and then all this gets bundled in like so. Screw. This Jiffy box here from J-Car, this black box, $8. It's been amazing to work with. There's a grid underneath the lid that you can use to have a reference for center lines on the box, which works a treat. Now, beautiful. Now, running lines up into here. I'll tidy this up a bit later on. I've got to find a way for it to now get up through the top. All this, we'll find a way. Alright, as you can see, I drastically overcalculated how much cable we'd need for our wiring harness for this battery isolator. So now I can just trim some off. Now I've got wire rope already made up. But this is where I'm going to be putting the external kill switch. It's already in the cowling here. So I'll just might make that hole a bit bigger sometime and put a grommet in there. But yeah, this is essentially what's going to be happening. This will go up here, and push button, got your leads here. So I'll just cut a piece off now to a bit of length and get it situated, and then I'll just tie it up a bit higher along here, and that's where I've got it sorted. So I'll get to that now. Alright guys, it is now night time. We had a few issues getting this all sorted out. We've got our isolator down there, Deutsch connection, we've got our harness running through. You see the little flashing light down here. That is our isolator. It means it's working. I have the external kill button tucked away just up in here. So I'll put the triangle here eventually, or here pointing to it, so it's nice and tucked away. But when we go to start this car, it's actually going to get loud. You sure? You right? You can't hear me. So, when the light's flashing, that means it's good to go. We've got power. Start our car. It's all going. Then if we hit this button, shuts it down. We go again. We go to the external kill button. Just here. Shuts it down. So it's a very, very simple system, just 2 push buttons and away you go. So just have to tidy up some wiring and stuff now because it's an absolute mess. I'll do that tomorrow, but what I'm going to do now that that's all sorted out, is mount our fire extinguisher, which I'm going to mount just down here along that beam just there. So fire extinguisher came from Total Tools here in Australia. We're here in Townsville. $19. Absolute bargain if you ask me. It's nice and compact and small. And go for it, bud. It is suitable. It's an ABE fire extinguisher. So all we need to do now is just bolt it in. It comes with a metal frame, and away we go. One thing I did forget to say about this Cartek Battery Isolator is that if any of the wires become disconnected for some reason, if you're in an accident and the wires become disconnected, the system will shut down as well, which is really, really good. The issue I had was just with the button, the blue external button over there. When where I located it over there, when I bent some of the wires actually broke. So I just cut those off, soldered on some new ones, and away we went. We're good to go. So I'm really stoked with that. It's all lovely. The one thing also, it does drain a little bit of your battery as it sits, so it's probably good to disconnect the battery every now and then, so it doesn't drain your battery. But yeah, we'll get onto this. Whoopsies. All right, we'll get onto this fire extinguisher, the Mega Guide or Mega Fire extinguisher right there. Nice and compact, nice and small, and we'll bolt that in, and that'll be our day done. And just like that, we have a fire extinguisher bolted in using high tensile bolts, and that thing is absolutely not going anywhere. It's nice and strong. I'm really, really happy how that battery isolator's come out. There's just a few things to square up on it, but it is perfect. Again, I just have to put that little battery, isolator sticker on there, the blue triangle with the red lightning bolt to signal that's where the kill switch is. But that is perfect for me because I would not be able to, my arms being back here, to reach down there. They're just a fraction too short from where I need the seat, so this is a perfect option. And having that kill switch just tucked in down there on the cowling there, keeps it out of the way but still accessible when you need it. So we'll leave it there, guys. I'm going to go start cleaning up. It's an absolute mess in here. I tend to make a bit of a mess and then clean it up. I think tomorrow I might come in here and just give this whole garage a nice clean up, clean the shelves up, get rid of any of the garbage you don't need, because I tend to just put stuff there, leave it there, forget about it. So I'll go through all my stuff, tidy it up, keep my wife happy, because that would make her very, very happy, I think. So thanks for tuning in, guys. Again, Cartek GT battery isolator kit is perfect for the XLs, works an absolute treat. It is expensive. It is way more than your traditional battery isolators and kill switches. But just because you've got a cheap car doesn't mean you have to be somewhat cheap on safety. That's nothing against the other battery isolators. They're still good. But for me personally, and my safety in the car, and being able to reach that kill switch quickly and know where it is, I went for the way more expensive option. Thanks to GR Motorsport Electronics in Melbourne for getting that up to me really quick. It's perfect. And then yeah, can't wait to see the next video I've got coming for you guys. I'm really excited about. If you follow me on Facebook or Instagram, Big Rig Racing, you would know the steering wheel that I got. I'm not going to tell you what it is. Those people that subscribe to me or follow me on Facebook and Instagram would know what steering wheel I got. But I've got a few other things coming for that, which I'm absolutely stoked about. And then after that, it's just saving up for the big thing, saving up for the roll cage. So that's the next big ticket item that we'll be putting in this car very soon. So I'm going to start cleaning up. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for liking. Thanks for subscribing. And I'll see you next time. Cheers, guys.